Hola, feliz viernes, familias, RevvED friends. My name is Christy Moreno. I'm with Revolución Educativa, an education advocacy organization fighting the good fight for Latino students, parents, families, educators, and the community at large. Thank you so much for tuning in. And if you're not live right now watching with us, I know you're going to replay this later. So thank you. Welcome. I'm hoping that we're here in Kansas City and it's a little rainy here. It's a little gloomy. But we're going to have an incredible conversation today with a good friend of mine, a good role model of mine, and an incredible community leader here in Kansas City, Missouri, and Kansas City, Kansas, Celia Ruiz Calderon. So without further ado, Celia, bienvenida. Feliz viernes. How are you doing today?
You know, I love rain, so I have been loving this. And yeah, so I needed this. This is perfect. I'm good. Thank you.
I'm glad that you say that because I'm sure there are others who love the rain. I'm not that kind of person, but I know that my little plantitas out there and my flowers are happy. So let's jump into this conversation. Celia, tell us a little bit about yourself. I know you're a tia, you're an activist, you're a mental health advocate and champion. You're part of the LGBTQ Commission here in Kansas City and much more. So tell us a little bit more about yourself. What do you want the community to know about you?
Yeah, I feel like I always need to throw it out there because I just want to make it very clear. I am, born and raised Kansas City. I have learned to love Kansas City and felt like I've belonged to Kansas City in these past recent years. Growing up, it looked a little bit different. But so as much as I can love Kansas City, I always have to say El Derramadero. So my family comes from El Derramadero, Guanajuato, Mexico. And there are lots of people from El Derramadero here. And that definitely had a lot, to do with my upbringing, the person who I am, the beliefs, the tradition, just all of that. So I'm, we can speak English, we can do all of this, and I can have a title and commission, and etc. But at the heart, I always want people to know that I'm still just, kid of immigrants, family connected to El Derramadero, and I'm always proud to say that.
I love that. Thank you so much for recognizing your roots, your heritage, and, part of your identity, because that's how we build identity, right? Really looking at where we come from, where we are, where we're headed to. So thanks for sharing that. Now, Celia, recently, a few weeks ago, Revolución Educativa had our Impacto Changemaker Awards. You are one of our awardees. I love that. So for those who don't know about Impacto Changemaker Awards, it was an initiative by Revolución Educativa to really highlight those unsung heroes, Latinos that are doing incredible work and impact in the Latino community here in the greater Kansas City area. The majority of the people that we awarded are people that have been at this work because they have a calling, they have passions, they have a mission, and they feel a very strong connection to the community. So first, Celia, muchísimas felicidades. It is a recognition, it is an award, and it is an honor also for me to share this space with you because you have been a very strong and influential advocate and activist here in our area. Why do you think it's important to recognize people like you, Latinos that have been doing this work, boots on the ground? Why is it important to recognize each other's power?
Yeah, so first, thank you. I hope you see a little bit of the award behind me back here. It's very special to me. I will say that that's the first time that my name is actually on a physical award. I've gotten printed stuff, but so that's pretty special. Yeah. So thank you. And then knowing where it comes from is also special. So thank you very much. But in regards to the importance of recognizing, we have an artist friend that he taught us not to say que somos comunes y corrientes. So just regular old everyday people. That language doesn't exist. There's everyday awesome people. And I really do believe that, here in the Kansas City area, there are everyday awesome people. And they are moms and they are dads. They are teachers without the official teacher title. They are mentors without an official mentor title. And it's important to recognize those because I will say that I've been to I guess I will say my age, I'm in 40-ish, somewhere around there without giving my age, but 40s. And so then I started very young in a professional workspace. And so then I've been to multiple networking, mixers, etc. And back in those days, and I'd say about like 20-ish years ago, I didn't see people talking like me. I didn't hear the Spanish language sometimes, a lot of times. And so then I felt for a long time that workspace was workspace, home space was another space, and it was hard to find those two worlds connecting. But especially now recently, within these past couple of years, I've been seeing, and to the example of the Changemaker Awards, that's how we get to see other people that don't typically cross the line to another spot, or maybe don't even get invited to a mixer.
Yeah.
And they are the ones who are probably more influential, have way more wisdom to share, definitely have the background. And so then by not including these folks, one, we're missing out on the opportunity to learn from such history and such talent, and just amazing, authentic people that they are. Two, we also end up excluding the opportunity to include others, to learn from them as well. Again, for new mentees, for new young people to see, and we say representation, but what does representation actually do for us? For me personally, it creates a sense of belonging, where I say, maybe I'm not that weird. And if young people are listening to this, you're not weird. We're not weird. But thinking the words of weird, or like, what do you mean? And I have to find a way to throw this in here because I was thinking about it.
Yeah.
Maybe nobody listens to Grupo Pegaso whenever and my partner's going to kill me for saying Pegaso, but that's what I will say. Maybe nobody else listens to Pegaso before they get pumped up for a meeting to talk about social determinants of health in a ballroom out in Topeka. But I'm like, you know what? Somebody did.
Yeah.
And I think that that's like the cool little secrets that we all have amongst our Latino community, our Latinx community, the Kansas City, the Northeast, the East Side, all of these places that sometimes we don't think of seeing ourselves in those places.
I thank you. I love that you shared the words representation and belonging, because activism, the work in advocacy can be pretty isolating sometimes. And so I just want to start talking a little bit about, like, where did you start? Where did that drive in you, that fire in you for, doing the community work, for advocating for the communities? Because when we talk about intersectionality, right, it's not just one community. You belong to several communities. And that's beautiful. And so tell us a little bit about, when was that fire ignited? How did it happen? How did you get involved in this work? Tell us.
Yeah, so I think what comes to mind is, and it won't be for every bilingual, but for a lot of us that grew up bilingual with full English and full Spanish, maybe we were the interpreters and interpreters speak, but maybe we were also the translators and we were writing, and so then at a very young age, there was a lot of interpreting and there was a lot of translating for loved ones, family, etc. Because so it kind of happened there. But I would say outside of the family non-paid interpreter work, and you can put that on your resumes, for that non-paid interpreter work, I remember being in fourth grade. And I guess this also kind of mentioned a little bit of health. It was fifth grade, because I remember what teacher it was. It was fifth grade. We had someone they had recently come from another Central American country. They weren't exchange. I mean, it was a small school. So someone recently arrived from a Central American country. She's in our classroom, and she has a medical emergency in the classroom, and no one spoke Spanish other than me. So she spoke Spanish. No one else spoke English. And then we go down to the nurse, and then the nurse didn't speak Spanish either. And so then here I was interpreting something that I probably did not have at all the terminology to be able to interpret. But like, I do remember like the vulnerability in her face and like how embarrassed she felt amongst classmates. And we were all, I don't want to say kids, because kids can be a little bit demeaning, but we were all young people, fifth grade, whatever age range that is. And so then I remember that, and I always remember her. And so then I think that whenever we are bilingual, it's very easy to be put into a place of service. And then I think it depends on us as individuals, what we do with that service. It could be, I put it on my resume, I did this, or we actually saw the real people behind that moment. And so then for me growing up, it's every one of those interpreting moments. If it was filling out Social Security paperwork, I don't know, 17 years old, something, disability, food stamps, again, for strangers in clinics, in employment, etc. And then even now, as we go older, it can just happen anywhere. Going to the bank yesterday, actually, it wasn't me who was interpreting, it was my partner. And so then sometimes you're just pulled into it. And I think it just depends on what you take from that and how much authenticity you place in the future.
So what I'm hearing is that you were sort of like immersed in the moment and the need to step up and become, right, the language access provider, the carrier of that message. So it was not necessarily something you work towards, right? Like that you said, I'm going to work towards, I'm going to get this credential and then I'm going to become an interpreter. You were like fully thrown at it and you thrived. And I have to say, like, I always share this about Celia. I met Celia about 13 years ago, a little bit less than 13 years ago when I moved to Kansas City. And she was working as family advocate at a preschool, bilingual preschool, where I took my kids. And when I met Celia, I was like, I want to be like her. Like what she does for families, what she does for the community is so the impact is there, right in the moment. Sometimes we have jobs where like you don't see the results of what you're doing till like a year later, you're working on long-term projects. When you do advocacy and activism and language access, the results are in the moment. So you see your power, you see your influence and the possibility of empowering others through your work immediately. So I always like to share that she has always been an inspiration, a motivation, and definitely a role model to me. And I am just so happy to have her here with us today. Celia, what are the issues that concern you the most about society today? And what are the issues that you're most passionate about and that you're actively working to solve, to better, to improve, or to get rid of?
Yeah, so we talked about intersectionality, and there really are so many subjects, and so many areas. Some that come to mind immediately are always immigration, because I don't think, I know there are so many misconceptions when it comes to the immigration system here in the United States. I always think of the example of, if I'm 40-ish years old, why is it that I have 40-ish years knowledge of mixed status families, of folks with an undocumented status, taxes, pays, employers, like, and that's 4 decades. And I'm not counting my first years, but I know that they existed because I know that they did. And so then we look prior to that. So we could be talking about 80 years of a messed up immigration system. So any conversation that happens right now, we're not the messed up ones as far as this generation. This has been going on way long before us, and there are other interests besides just the everyday awesome people that we have in our community. So immigration is something that is dear to me. Mental health, I took my first mental health first aid class close to 10 years ago, and I fell in love with the practicality of the program. And from there, I grew to be an instructor, and I'm now certified to be able to do, I think, like 5 different classes. Then I guess 3, I don't know if you hear this, but there are sirens in my background. And so then where I live and the Kansas City that we all share is important to me. For many, we talked about belonging and belonging identity for many years. And when we were younger, I heard a lot, parts of the city, eso es para los güeros. That's for white people. O ese restaurante, that restaurant is para güeros. And so then as a kid, I'm just like, okay, well, I guess I'm not supposed to go there, or I guess I don't deserve it. And so then a huge disconnect in feeling Kansas Cityan, because I was Mexican and we were del Ramadero and we go to Fiestas del Rancho and we go to quinceañeras and we go to this, but we didn't go to like the original Kansas City Museum. I hear lots of people around my age sharing their stories. No idea. I don't know. We just had our little world. And so then The sense of belonging is getting stronger because I'm noticing that our connection to Kansas City is stronger than what others have painted it to be for us. So Kansas City is important to me. And so then Kansas City has lots of things going on. And so if we are talking about rising housing, costs, if we are talking about, poverty, income, wages, the division and the separation, amongst resources, or the resources being separated amongst districts, and just the North and the South, I will forever be an advocate for the East Side of Kansas City because I've always been East Side. And so an East Side is important for me as well.
Thank you. Thank you. Who has been your champion? Who has been part of your support system throughout these 2 decades, I hear, of working for the community, working to better our experience as Latinos here in the greater Kansas City area? Who's part of that support system for you?
So I would say that I would say specifically within the last 15 years, because I've been with my partner for 15 years, has been my partner. It's been my chosen family, and it's been the awesome group of friends that I have around me. Because, amongst our friends and our circle, we can talk about very fun stuff. They can make fun of my Pegaso music, and that's okay. But then we can also talk about all of these social issues, and we can talk about civic engagement, and we can talk about local policy, national policy, international, Mexico, United States, migration from here, there, etc., and get into those deeper conversations. So then I'm very grateful that, all of this passion and all of this conversation that doesn't end at the 5 o'clock hour, which I'm fortunate to have a lot of these conversations during the workday. But they don't end there because I can pick up a phone call. We can go maybe have some drinks right now, an early brunch, or bike rides, which we're trying to get back into our bike rides now. And we can talk about all of this, the exact same things that me and you were talking about. I have awesome friends. So yeah.
I love hearing that, and that is also part of why Revolución Educativa wanted to bring all these change makers together, because we know that that support system is the backbone of the work we do, as we're impacting our community. And so it was important for us to bring all of these beautiful 25 Latinos doing amazing work to impact and better the lives of our families, of our children, and our community at large, coming together to not just network, but to actually see, learn from each other, who's doing what. Oftentimes we have a lot of people, a lot of organizations doing amazing work, but working in silos. And so what I always like to say is that we're more powerful when we come together, when we understand what our individual or organization's missions are, and we can support our work and connect and partner when it makes sense to, but also be able to support the work of others, and recognize it and bring others along. So yes, you're an incredible change maker for the community. I want to move a little bit on to the role you have with United Healthcare. Tell us a little bit about that role and what does it mean to be a project coordinator for the social determinants of health?
Yes, sure. So I've been with United Healthcare. It'll be 10 years, a little bit later this year. I originally started in outreach. And so then a lot of community events, Spanish and English facing events with the community talking about Medicaid. So United Healthcare is a large organization and has multiple health plans. I will say that the only thing that I feel very comfortable with, because it's been, almost 20 years experience in Medicaid, is that I work for the Medicaid health plan that United Healthcare has in Kansas. And so then when our social determinants of health department opened up, I think it was in 2019, I was so excited that it was starting, because it's just, I love this department, and I'm really happy where I'm at here at United Healthcare. So for those of you who have not heard of the term social determinants of health basically means that there are things outside of our doctor's appointments that affect our health. And so then, while we could look at several different areas of social determinants of health, we have identified a couple of areas. So there's housing, employment, education. I can't think, maybe maternal is another specific area in there. But then I work at food access. So how do we improve food access for those that have our Medicaid health plan. And so then if we're talking about those that have our Medicaid health plan, those who have our Medicaid health plan are also in community where no matter what we try to find or, try to create some solutions or partner or support, sometimes there's not an infrastructure to support that improved food access to the communities where our members live. And so then as a project coordinator, and I will say this too, if anyone is ever interested in applying for a job and we hear a position, like what does that mean? What do they actually do? Look at the description. Never feel intimidated by the title because we can do the work. Because this is the first time that I have a role as project coordinator. Everything has been outreach, community relations, marketing, etc. But in this one, I am able to use my outreach experience, my bilingual experience, and United Healthcare encourages us to come to work as our authentic selves. So everything that I do in my personal life, I can mention the LGBTQ Commission. I can mention the mental health work. I can talk about immigration, and it all kind of fits into this big picture. But specifically in project coordination, I'll mention this is thinking of, how we can support a solution, a community partner in addressing an issue. This one, improving food access, and looking at the logistics from beginning to end. So if we say, oh, we found a cool program and we found a cool benefit, we should give this to blank. Well, and my role is, how does it happen? Who do we pay? Okay, accounting wise, do I need the accounting codes, like general ledger codes, and who do I get that from? Oh, and what other department should I connect with? Because maybe they already have a policy written. Oh no, hold on, do I need to create a scope of work? And so then it's just thinking from beginning to end, how does it happen? Who does it reach? And then at some point, is it scalable? So maybe we tried it off as a pilot project, and then we're ready for something larger. Lots of community collaboration, lots of listening to community. I was very excited to go down to Southeast Kansas earlier this week. And I've mentioned to them before that me being, I say East Side, KCMO, me who I just feel being me. And then here I am going to, and where did we go to? We went to like Iola, Mildred, very small towns. There is so much that our immigrant communities have in common with rural communities. And it's so exciting to see those small communities, how everyone knows each other. So it's just an awesome experience, even from that end, to be able to explore new parts of the state of Kansas.
That's pretty cool. In a few weeks, we're going to host, Revolución Educativa is going to host one of those mental health workshop courses, really certifications. Is that a certification? What is?
Yep. You can actually receive a certification for mental health first aid.
Wonderful. And to our friends that are watching, we're going to start pushing that promotional out here this weekend. But tell us a little bit about, or a lot, or however much you want to tell us about what do you do as a mental health advocate, champion, and facilitator of this course?
Yeah. So as a mental health first aid instructor, I teach courses on how adults can assist adults in moments of mental health crisis, challenges, or illnesses. There's also a course where adults can learn how to assist young people. And then there's also a course on how teens can assist teens. With the adult version, how to assist adults, how to assist youth. Those two courses are available in Spanish. So I've given those courses in English and Spanish. The teen one is a new one. If you're interested in learning about that, if you work for a high school or if you work for a youth serving organization, message me, comment below. I'll look at the comments and we'll go ahead and connect. But as an instructor, one, it's physically presenting the course. So teaching the course, it's an 8-hour in-person course. There's some virtual options, but we have more fun in person. And we go through a 5-step action plan. And the example that I use is that if I were to cut my finger and I get a little paper cut here, I maybe for the most part at least have 5 options that I can think of. Put some pressure on it, run it under water, a Band-Aid, just other Neosporin. I have my little toolbox of ideas. But whenever we're talking about mental health and we say, hey Celia, how you doing? No, it's good morning, how you feeling? And I could either be an old person my age, I could be a younger person, and I could say it sucks. And maybe I don't even use the words I'm feeling terrible. But maybe if we don't get that response that we're expecting, how do we respond? So there's a 5-step action plan that's a clear, practical, and anyone can take this course. Parents, caregivers, teachers, professionals, neighbors, aunts, uncles, because, as a part of the advocacy piece to this, so I can talk about the course and it's available and the dates and etc. But then there's also this sensitivity. Another factor that needs to be taken into consideration is, how do we talk about mental health? Because I'm just throwing it out there and I'm totally comfortable and we'll talk about this here or in other spaces. You may hear me talk about it a lot more, but it can be a sensitive subject. It can be very private because of so much stigma that we've seen in our community, of so much stigma that has been passed down way beyond our immediate families, and way beyond our immediate community.
Yeah.
So advocacy is a huge part. Education, awareness, by simply even just bringing up this subject in this course is a great way to start that conversation.
Why is it so relevant and so important to bring this information and this educational opportunity for the Latinos here in Kansas City? And what are you seeing that pushes you to work even harder at putting these materials, these courses out there for our community?
Yeah, so it's important because mental health is real. La salud mental no solamente está en la cabeza. It isn't just in our head. Mental health issues, challenges, illnesses, and I use those 3 different words, moments, because all of these things, we've strayed away from the conversation. And so then when we stray away from the conversation, we're not confronting it, we're not receiving the treatment, support that's needed. 2, we're not hearing the messages of recovery. That yes, it is possible to go through a mental health challenge. Yes, it is possible to have a mental health illness and live a happy, productive, working life. And so then it's necessary. 1. 2, if we look just within our recent years, maybe our typical adolescent development, maybe we all kind of share the similar experience of what high school looked like, what growing up with first crushes look like, what, all of it's typical. But then what has these last, now, 2 years look like for our young people? We were watching the scene the other day, a couple of weeks ago, where there was a graduation scene, and I immediately went to, oh my gosh, so graduate, yeah. And I was with the young person, and the young person said, nope, I didn't have that experience. I'm like, oh yeah. And it's not just the seniors. We're talking about the juniors that had a funky year, the sophomores that had a funky, what do you call it, the 8th graders. How about the 5th graders? How about the masks? And, I was in a school once and I asked a young person, I was like, I see some are wearing masks and some aren't. What does that depend on? Is it just everyone's? And she kind of gave me some reasons. What we would kind of assume is that, they have family members, they're just comfortable. But it caught my attention that she said some people don't want to show their faces. They've been so used to covering their faces, they don't want people to see their face. And so then maybe what we as adults may have developed some strategies to face certain moments in our life. That doesn't mean everyone else has. And even when I think I do have strategies, I may really not.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing. Tell us about your role as a commissioner, as the 3rd District Commissioner for the LGBTQ Commission for Kansas City, Missouri. I want to bring that up because this is Pride Month, and while Pride should be honored, respected, and celebrated year-round, we dedicate the month of June. And so tell us a little bit about the work that the Commission is doing and the priorities there.
Yes. So the LGBTQ Commission for the City of Kansas City, Missouri is the first LGBTQ commission in the state of Missouri. And so then, 1, it's absolutely an honor. It's exciting. It's just very exciting. 2, this was exciting to me because it also creates, an additional lens into local government and that local civic engagement. And I would even say the issue of belonging. Thinking me a part of this, etc. And so then to have, elected officials say, yep, we believe this is a priority and, you as commissioners, what we are tasked with is providing recommendations to the city. Meaning that, because sometimes I've also had some of my circles say, "Tú que trabajas para el alcalde," you that work for the mayor, So I don't work for the mayor, I don't work for the city, I don't get a paycheck. I work for United Healthcare, and I'm a volunteer there. Volunteer with these city commissions, because it's also the Municipal Art Commission that I was appointed to. So we provide recommendations to the city on behalf of the LGBTQ Commission. In order to provide those recommendations, one, it's important for us to have relationships and conversations with community. So, to throw out a flyer to say, and I'm going to say this in Spanish because Spanish speaking LGBTQ community, you can put those two together, and those are communities that are not heard as often. So if I were to say, venga a hablar con Celia, con la comunidad LGBT, being totally honest, we are still not totally accepted in English or in Spanish, and maybe not even El Derramadero. So without going into, we're going to change the world and we're going to change Kansas City, we start off by one, listening to community. So if you do, and so then I represent third district being the east side Kansas City. As a commission, we do have others that are focused on housing, health, protection, safety. There's some other areas. And so then we meet monthly. One of the first things that we were looking at was providing some recommendations to the city for gender neutral restrooms at, I want to say whenever the city buildings are being, not renewed, like they're remodeling them, or they're putting in like that new construction. So that's not actually going into every city-owned building and creating these gender neutral restrooms, but providing guidance to the language is important. And so then when we're thinking about the work that happens for, when I mentioned the project coordinator role, even reading through an ordinance and the specific language, the wording, etc., that's where we can provide that support. And I think that's something that all of us as Kansas Cityans and in the area and wherever city you live in, paying attention to that language. So what we do is providing that feedback to the city.
Thank you. I always talk about how hope does not just exist, that we need to be creative about how do we create hope for our community so that we can empower and motivate others to, speak for their needs, speak to the needs of their community, get involved, be civically engaged, be politically engaged. Revolución Educativa, we talk a lot about families getting engaged, actively engaged in the educational experience of their children. And so what are you hopeful for, and how do you create hope in your mind, in your soul, in your spirit, and the work you do, and how do you create that hope for your community?
Yeah, so I would say as far as hope, I haven't fully thought out the reasoning behind this explanation or see if this is it, but I think we need to make things very simple. And so then I think when we talk about the message of hope, we can get into what does it really mean? And so then one, when I think of, this idea that I'm sort of thinking of and just kind of brewing with is, if we were to instill a healthy level of self-esteem in every young person, and then even every grown person, and even every person that's more grown, I don't care what age we're at, but a good, healthy level of self-esteem, I think it would really go a long way. Because if on the flip side, I'm at work and I think, no, I won't mention that, that I'm gay, and okay, and this happened at work where then someone posted, "Oh, Celia was appointed to the LGBTQ Commission." And I'm like, "Oh, thank you very much." And then someone messaged and they said, "Hey, Celia, I saw that you were appointed. Do you think that we could go, that United Healthcare could do the Pride Fair thingy next year?" And I'm like, okay, I guess so. And I'm like, let's try. And then that quickly became like a full Pride team at United Healthcare. That became this full Pride Teams chat where everyone is talking. And everyone was so excited from this year's participation that it's growing immediately for next year. And so then I think if we focus on that piece, that yes, we 100% deserve to be here, and yes, you are 100% amazing at your job, and then yes, if you need to do a little bit better on your job, go ahead and still accept it and do a little bit better at your job. You know, if be confident, so confident in yourself that you'll allow others to come into this space, and you'll be equally happy for them, and then they'll be happy for us. I mean, it's a very simple and lovey-dovey hippie type of idea, but I think if we just start off with something simple, and if we see, Chrissy, that I like your hair and I like your top today, that I authentically tell you, because I think we're also authentic at every step. If I authentically say, oh my gosh, I really like how you did your hair your day, like, and that's like it, nothing else, no pero, no nothing, that's just it, then maybe it was like, oh yeah, the humidity and the rain did not mess with me today and I look good. And then maybe you carry yourself a little bit different. So at the heart of it, I think for hope, I really do want us to have more confidence and self-esteem in ourselves, because we are amazing people, all of us.
We are. Me salieron así, se me puso chinita la piel because of what you said right now. And I was gonna, we're getting ready to wrap up, but I was gonna ask you, give us a word of advice. But you kind of already did it beautifully by talking about the importance of boosting our own and other people's self-esteem. I kind of see it already with this younger generation. I'm a mother of teenagers. And I hear my teenagers like just randomly complimenting people when they're out and about, like, oh, I love your hair. And it's like a thing that's happening that obviously my generation is not very used to. And I'm like, that's really cool. And then I was like, well, is it just because it's a thing, or are they being genuine? And then I'm like, no, this is pretty genuine. And I just love that. I think it's I do have hope in our youth. If I was going to ask you a last question here, it's going to be this one. For people that are interested, Latinos that are interested in getting involved in, like, how do I get noticed to be appointed to be on a commission? Like, where do I start volunteering? How do I get involved so that I can actually bring impact into my community? What is a thought that you can share with us there?
Yeah. So I think, and I heard once in my Medicaid space, be a student of the business. And so then the city of Kansas City has a YouTube channel. You can watch committee, commission, city council, ¿cómo se llama? The meetings, the recordings, and live. Learn people's names, read the agenda, sign up for the agendas, and I'll try to plug in some links in the comments. So get the newsletters, see what's coming up, read through maybe what seems to be a boring ordinance and be like, what is it? Oh, so who makes that decision? Oh, so it's the transportation and something committee. Oh, okay. And who is there? So I think, start off by, learning as much as you can from what those meetings are, what they do, who they are. There's also a page on the city website where you can look at the commissions, and you can apply for commissions. And so then, without saying, oh, I want to go here, look at everything and say, oh, yep. Because what if we thought, what am I going to do for municipal art? And I'm like, oh, I get to help, maybe guide some ideas and some thinking and etc. I have a friend that was also appointed to a commission not too long ago, and we're having this conversation. And I realized that one of the best attributes that we can provide as a commissioner is to be curious, because we are everyday awesome Kansas Cityans that want to know, hold on, so where did that money come from and who collects it? And can you explain it to me? Can you say it another way? Be curious. And I think participate. I mean, just be curious, learn, and find your spot that way, and apply. Always apply.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Well, we're wrapping up. Thank you so much, Celia Ruiz Calderon, for making the time to have this chat with us. You are a treasured, a very much valued member of the Kansas City community. We see you, we hear you, we are here for you, because we know that you're there for us too. And thank you so much. We will be seeing you July 16 for our primeros auxilios para la salud mental de los jóvenes en Estados Unidos. If you want to sign up to attend Celia's course, just follow our social media here at RevvED KC. and you will be seeing where you can sign up, connect with us so that we can share more information. Muchísimas gracias. Feliz fin de semana, bonito viernes, que siga lloviendo para ti, que salga el sol para mí. And we'll be in touch. Gracias. Chao.
Gracias.